Hey, what's up? And I'm back on my grind. It's a critical plug. It's about that time for a new album review of Bts-Arirang. Yup, the Bulletproof Boy Scouts are at it again with their 8th album, if I'm not mistaken.
Hey, I got a question for you.
What, Sean? Like, I'm in the middle of a review right now. Like, what do you want?
Well, I was wondering if I could have your laptop.
And why would I do something like that?
Well, you know, for when the BTS army kills you.
No one's gonna kill me. At least I hope not.
Oh, I beg to differ. You were warned. You were warned. You were warned.
Anyway, BTS, highly beloved K-pop group, and this is their album after, I believe to be half a decade hiatus. Their last album being BTS Map of the Soul 7, which I did find to be enjoyable. But before getting into my review, with this being the first time I've ever covered a K-pop record, with this being the first time I ever covered BTS, period, I just want to say, I used to be a huge fan of this genre. There was a brief moment in time, where I was definitely fond of the genre, but it was mostly, again, for the aesthetics. It was mostly for the dancing, and I thought the singing was really good. But when it comes to pop music, when it comes to music in general, I've broadened my horizons. I've checked out new things, experimented with new genres, and found more compelling acts, found more interesting acts, and that's okay. You could do that. There is a Pepe's Pizza and a Sally's Pizza and a world full of Dominoes. Remember that. Like, I just enjoy pop that's more daring, more exciting, more catchy. Something that really goes against the grain and not trying to mimic what's charting on the billboards. But to be fair, I've never been in love with a K-pop album or a BTS album in general, due to the fact that it has way too many tracks that pander to the mainstream audience. Way too many tracks that try to make that Billboard charting hit, in opposed to actually expressing art. And when you start putting out what's trending, what's charting, you're not really thinking of it as music anymore. You're thinking about what's trending. You're thinking about what's charting. You're thinking about what people may like, but most importantly, what's gonna sell. And that's when it no longer becomes art. That is when you put business over art, and the art and the music becomes bullshit. So after listening to this LP numerous times, numerous painstaking times, I respectfully want to say, and unfortunately say, that's what we ended up with here. And given the singles to this thing, I can't say I'm the least bit surprised. Especially with its first single being Swim. Like, when I first heard it on Contact, to my ears, I was like, yeah, this sucks ass. Because this is just a flavorless attempt at making a Drake song. And not to say like Drake is like a top tier artist, in my opinion, but it just sounds like they're trying to recreate what he did with its lethargic melodies, dime a dozen UK street soul production. And it's so derivative, I'm surprised Drake didn't even write it, but nowadays I don't even think Drake writes. But if I can say a few nice things about this record, and look, I'm trying to be as charitable as I possibly can. I'm trying to be as respectful as I possibly can. I'm not trying to sign my own death warrant here, but I do appreciate them for reaching out to different producers, especially producers that have made some of my favorite music or contributed to some of my favorite music, and writers of some of my favorite music of all time, like JPEG Mafia, and even though he's a fucking idiot now, Diplo, as well as Flume, to my surprise, Tizo Touchdown, who I am very fond of. I wouldn't say he's one of my faves of all time, but I am very fond of his debut record that he put out, if you've checked out my review for that. And while I haven't been a huge fan of anything Kevin Parker has put out since Lonerism, he is on this record too. And for those who don't know, yes, that is Tame Impala. Tame Impala is just one guy. Also, if I can give this thing credit as well, the sequencing I could also give credit to. But to me, this sounds just like a potpourri of ideas as opposed to an eclectic treasure. Take, for example, 29. What the fuck is this? Like, this honestly must sound like what drone music sounds to people who hate drone music. Because it's so faint, it's so computerized, it's like over a minute of nothing. And I truly hope they weren't in the studio thinking, oh yeah, this is gonna be like Beatles Revolution 9 for Zoomers. It's just laziness disguised as experimental. And the thing that gets me is that these guys have creative control. So you have creative control, but why does this thing sound like a focus group project? Why does this thing sound like a focus group project trying to do experimental music? Because the genre choices, the production choices make as much sense as throwing a fucking frying pan into the microwave. And as if this wasn't an odd placement in the track list already, Into the Sun, why are the guitars so disgustingly sanitary here? But what's unforgivable here, what is very uncalled for, are these god-awful, horrendous vocal harmonies. Like, this has got to be one of the worst, hideous vocal harmonies I've probably heard all year, maybe all decade. It sounds like a malfunctioning choir of robot chipmunks. And again, while I've never been a huge fan of a BTS album, I can at least say they've had passionate vocal performances here, but they've gone from passion to passionless because the vocals are so touched up. They are so computerized, so sanitary, and sound so terrible that I can't feel anything here. Like, what the fuck is up here with these giggly, jumbly vocals here? It sounds like unintentional cackling too, and it sounds very unintentional. It actually sounds like Woody the Woodpecker and Krusty the Clown if they had an AI K-pop baby. Most notably on the opener. So when you're trying to be moving, when you're trying to put something out there that's gonna pull the heartstrings, this thing barely tugs. And in terms of substance, I've at least gave them credit for substance in the past. But that is not here. This is substance-less. The only point here where I could possibly say there's like substance here is the song Merry-Go-Round, produced by Kevin Parker. But it just sounds like a throwaway of something off of Currents. The analog synth bass is so faint, the drums sound so compressed like a majority of the production here. Like, it sounds less like Kevin Parker produced it, and it sounds more like someone just put Tame Impala in ChatGPT. And speaking of ChatGPT, these guys have creative control. These guys have a grasp of their writing. They've been creative with their writing in the past, but the writing here sucks. Like, it's just so painfully on the nose. Like on fire. Everything gas is fire. Everything lit is fire. Like, I'm sorry, are you fucking kidding me? And if they didn't do this with AI, with everything going on with AI right now, not being able to tell the distinction or taking a while to get there, with lyrics so plain, so simple, so basic, this is probably the last thing you want to put out, especially with how sanitary and touched up a lot of the vocals sound here, and the production. Not to mention, some of the weakest hooks I've probably heard in a while end up on this record. Case in point, Hooligan. And the lyrics here are so misleading, saying, why does the bass slap so rude, when you have these synthetic strings and the bass so buried, it doesn't even have a chance to be rude. And yeah, you get your beat solos here, but the whole song, like, lyrically, is just so high off its own farts. Because it's like, we're gonna be menacing, we're gonna be crazy, but nothing happens here. It's just a whole bunch of hype, and it's so clownish. It's like the equivalent of like a first grader who's scared to say crap or butt in front of their teacher. Another example of that is Aliens. There is nothing weird or sci-fi or anything or even about aliens on this track except for saying aliens. Like, it just hypes up into nothing. Like, there's barely any focus here. It's just repetition. And I know for a fact there's probably someone who doesn't listen to this type of music. Probably someone who doesn't listen to noise rock, anything too fuzzy, and probably is gonna say this is like one of the best guitar solos they ever heard. It's so daring. But no, this is just an example of someone playing the guitar inexperienced, at least is what it sounds like, and then throwing a little bit of distortion over it. That's it. And as far as the rapping goes, I've gave props to the rapping in the past, but it just sounds so manufactured here. So yeah, overall, from beginning to end, I did not enjoy this thing. And honestly, if I was a BTS fan, if I was a member of the BTS army, I would feel duped. Like, you've been waiting for them to drop an album for half a decade and they give you this. And it's not like they had a bad production team either. They had goats in the production team. They had goats helping with the writing. So again, what went wrong? Because there's really nothing daring about this if you compare this to other daring acts here. Like, it just sounds cheap as hell, horrendous mixing. It sounds phoned in as fuck when it comes to the lyrics. It's just a disappointment. And if you think this is wild, if you think this is crazy, if you think this is exciting, then you're probably the same type of person that thinks the movie Gremlins is scary or red bell peppers are spicy. Like, I just really hope there's improvement on the next record. Massive improvement. Because this just wasn't it. This is not it. I'm feeling a 1.5 out of 5 black hearts on this. But if you've given this a listen, what'd you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? And that's it. I'm your critical plug. Show me love. Hit me with a sub. Even if you hate it, your view's still a dub. Critical plug. BTS. Arirang. Till we meet again.